me start by saying that I'm trying something new, okay? I've already been posting for a year and it's all been gaming and start to get a little tired and run out of ideas. But you can trust me. Be assured my credentials are that I'm really into movies, especially horror movies. I literally have a DVD collection and a Letterboxd account, so don't worry. You're in safe hands. Cannot believe I forgot to mention this, but quite literally the first movie I've ever seen in my entire life was Saw 2 when I was like a few months old. Like, you can trust me. My parents really wanted to see Saw 2 in theaters, and because I was apparently a really well-behaved baby, and also, obviously, I was poor, so they didn't have the money for a babysitter, but they were just like, he's a good behaved baby, we'll just take him with. So yeah, the first ever movie I've ever seen in my life was Saw 2 in theaters when I was like 5 months or so old. Apparently, I laughed at all the death scenes. Probably should have instantly been sent to a therapist, but I turned out fine. I just wanted to mention that this light is because I now have guinea pigs. That's where they are. And look at them go. Okay, that's all I wanted to mention there. I won't be really touching on the first two movies except for some things that are mentioned in these ones. Mostly because those movies are actually good and I don't want to ruin them for you. Seriously, please go watch Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2. Like, don't watch these ones I'm going to talk about, but definitely go watch those two. And now that I've said that, I also want to quickly mention that I am well aware that the original creator of these movies is not a good person. I've gone out of my way to watch these movies in a way that he won't get my money. And I'm really glad that the series is kind of moving away from him and continuing the franchise without him on board for it, as far as I've seen anyways. But I don't think that needs to be at the expense of a shit movie. That's all I'm gonna say about that. If you do want to watch these movies, which again, I highly recommend you watch the first two. I like them anyways. Try and find maybe a streaming service where he might not get you money. I'm not gonna suggest anything of how I watch them. But let's just... I about fell out of my chair. But since I don't want you to watch these movies, I think we should probably quickly go over them. And thank you for your time as always, because I'm saving you time. I had to rewatch these movies, so that way you don't have to. This movie opens up with a typical horror movie, kind of kill, kind of not, kind of on screen, kind of not. But what's important is that the creeper drops a hand. More on that later, keep that in your noggin. I don't think this is going to be included in the video, but just in case, because it's funny to me, because I just went keep it in your noggin, I watched Fight Club with my friend, and I had spoilers, so I kind of knew what was up, and every time something related, I'm not going to say anything specific just in case, but you should watch Fight Club if this goes in the video and you haven't seen it. And every time something happened, and I was like, I'm keeping note of that. We get reminded of the whole, every 23rd year, for 23 days it gets to eat. And this movie actually comes before Jeepers Creepers 2 in the timeline, and starts right after the events of the first movie with the cops looking into the truck. Which couldn't be me. Imagine leaving your murder truck. By the way, around this point we get a reference to Derry, and it's just... bless up. We miss you, Pookie. Obviously, we get multiple scenes on how the truck is a danger in itself, and there's bodies in it, and oh, we knew this. You don't need to expand on it more. I mean, I feel like we already had a good idea of what was going on, and I just don't really give a fuck. The creeper, of course, gets its truck back, and actually, none of this matters to me, really. Let's just skip ahead. You don't need a play-by-play, okay? This movie already has, like, hardly any substance as is.
I know it. And it knows me.
As you can see, however, this movie is just dramatic to be dramatic. There are some actors in this movie that do a pretty alright job, but for the most part, the acting in this is pretty shit, or at least over the top, which isn't, in my opinion, all that great. But we get old lady talking to one of the ghost victims and finds out a bit of the creeper is buried on her little like hill thing in her backyard. It's that hand. I'm not gonna hold info from you. Ain't nobody care that much. Pretty girl, who is old lady's granddaughter, has horse. Horse needs hay to live. We know this. They are broke. She goes to get hay anyways. Stops by her friend's place. This is what we doing bullet points now. I want to get through this. And no, I'm not caring to tell you or to learn any of their names. Oh, perfect example of how the acting is very over the top.
Is this thing tested?
The stink throws up a wall of fire. A wall of fire that nothing from this world or the next can get through.
At Pretty Girl's friend's place, we meet her brother, who is edgy and looks like that guy from Drake and Josh, and is kind of crazy and really does not care for animals at all. Don't know why this movie kind of feels like it tries to make him out to be a good guy later, but whatever. And he's also misogynistic, so
Stop trapping them, okay?
You're all a bunch of women.
idiot brother and idiot friends find the truck and fuck around with it, which obviously does not go well, causing idiot brother to get injured, who rejoiced. Doesn't matter for too long though, because we get a little cutaway and we meet Pretty Boy, who gives us backstory on Pretty Girl. And he's not misogynistic, and he even pays for the hay for her and delivers it to her. By the way, Pretty Boy is kind of like the only character that I even have like the slightest a bit of care for, and that's just because he's a loser and he's nice. And he's not even there that much. I just have a type. I have a type and it works for me a little bit, but even then it's just like I don't really care about him at all, just like the slightest little bit. Unfortunately, we get another cut back to idiot brother and idiot friends. We get some kills because obviously this supernatural monster we're dealing with, they can't help too much. But it doesn't matter because we're back with Pretty Boy and Pretty Girl. This movie jumps the fuck around all the time. Ugh. Either way, Pretty Boy hits on Pretty Girl a little bit, and she kind of shuts him down, kind of not, but more in the like, I'm the mysterious, traumatized main character vibe, and just like a, I shouldn't kind of way. But it's fine because she goes to help deliver hay to another customer of his little hay shop thing. I don't know shit about this. Despite people assuming I was from the country, I'm not. I'm Midwestern. I don't know much about. And my grandma had horses. I'm not the horse kind. Although my favorite movie, I don't remember the title, put it up, was a horse movie as a kid. I've seen that movie so many times that even though my that doesn't develop for another few years. Even though I couldn't even remember like any of my childhood until I was 10, trauma things, I still remember every single part of that movie. That's all. I just wanted to have a little side tangent. Pretty Girl goes with Pretty Boy because Grandma's being crazy and digging in the backyard again. She just doesn't know though. Who's gonna tell her? Grandma does find that hand. Who's surprised? Not me. I could see all this movie basically. And so, okay. Another side tangent. A movie being predictable is not necessarily a bad thing if you do it right. Okay? This movie is predictable in the way that I saw everything coming, and they did it worse somehow. For example, when I watched American Pie for the first time, I knew the entire... How much can I say without giving spoilers? You should watch American Pie, by the way. If you're of age. If you're not of age, though, why are you watching my channel? I mean, I guess like maybe like 16 and up. Besides the point. The whole segment with Oz and Heather, I quite literally predicted the entire part of it. I could tell you every single thing that happened before it happened, and I never seen it. Granted, I've seen a lot of movies. I'm a big movie nerd. So it was mostly just like, it was an older movie. It was. Like, it's gonna be new again. It's an older movie. I've seen a lot of movies. I know this genre of movie pretty damn well. So obviously, I had quite an idea of what would likely happen, especially because cliches weren't cliches at the time. They were still being made. And regardless of that, even though I knew everything was going to happen and I knew that it was very likely to happen, I still really liked it because they did it well and it was a good movie and I liked the characters. Even though I saw every single point a mile away, I still really loved it. And I got like a bit more enjoyment out of guessing it even because I was like, oh, I know my movies and it's still a good movie. So really, you get double the fun if you do it right. This movie just didn't. That's it. Back to this hand shit. It still moves, and if you touch it, hold its hand, it will tell you the whole backstory on the creeper or whatever, and I don't know. It's lame as fuck to me, so I don't care. If you ask me, monster backstory, and in this movie they don't even tell you the backstory. They just tell you that the characters learn the backstory, which almost makes me a little bit more mad. But like, I don't like the whole character or monster backstory thing. Like, I don't care. You don't need to give us backstory on your monster for it to be interesting or for it to be scary, and a lot of times less is more. Just popping in real quick because I realized that what I'm complaining about is exactly technically what they do. So to clarify what I mean, it's just that while I still agree with myself and what I originally said for especially other movies, in this instant, what I mean is just I don't like that they have a backstory and they're just not telling us and holding that information and just alluding to there being a backstory that other people know that we don't, without even showing like a little bit or telling us a little bit. Like, we learn no information, just that people know it. That's the real issue I have with it. Less is more unless you're not giving us enough, basically. As I'm about to say in the next clips, I don't think they could give us enough in a right way, but it's still, I don't like at least that they didn't even try. That's all. I don't know what more to say on it. I don't know how to articulate it, what I mean perfectly. It's just not good. This, either way, if they were to ever a proper, maybe even like go in depth and show us the backstory for the creeper, I don't think that they do it right with the track record, and I don't need to know that. I mean, I get a lot of people might want to know it just because they like this monster, they want to know more about it, all that jazz. I get that. But it kind of takes away from the movies, if you ask me. And this gimmick of trying to get with like saying that there's a backstory but not showing us, but just letting us know that other characters have it. I don't know. I get that they took into account that people would think like me and want to try and not piss people off. I get that. But you made a worse movie because of it. This like gimmick is not fun, it's not cool, it's not interesting, and it's boring as fuck. I love it. I love being a hater. I'm sorry, I love being a hater. We get a jump cut back to Pretty Duo. That's what I'm calling them. Like, they're a Minecraft YouTube duo. That's fucked. That is fucked. Don't. Oh my god, do not. Note to self, please cut that out. That is so fucked. When Pretty Duo get to this place to drop off the hay, they immediately know shit is not going right. Everybody's hiding under cars and shit. And obviously, we know what's going on, but it's baby's first 20-30 year, so we cut him some slack. The creeper takes the pretty girl because she's technically the main character, obviously. We'll get to that later. For now, the creeper task force is showing up to Grandma's house. Grandma gives the basic rundown of the hand and whatnot, and that she knows shit's gone down, but that doesn't matter much because we're already getting to jump back to Pretty Girl. We see that Pretty Girl is tied up in the little murder van, and somebody else is alive with her. Unfortunately, it's horrible brother who looks like the guy from Drake and Josh. No! Naturally, horrible brother guy mentions that the whole truck is booby-trapped, and yeah, haha, booby. But what's most important here is that while trying to escape, horrible brother guy who looks like the guy from Drake and Josh is very quickly taken out of commission. We get more truck lore as the Creeper task force go after it, but like, I'm only mentioning it now, and this is all I'm saying about how much truck lore we get for the rest of this entire video, because I doubt really any of us give a fuck about the goddamn truck. This movie makes it seem like the truck is the real important. This is the main character. You're gonna learn every in and out of this bitch, and it's just like, I thought we cared about this for the characters and the monster. I feel like that was pretty obvious, but it appears not. Mentioning this real quick as well as a quick pet peeve, 2 people hold this hand thing and get apparently the entire backstory of the Creeper, which they think is what will help them take the bitch down. Naturally, as that is how it works in like basically every other horror creature feature monster movie kind of thing. And yet none of them have, they don't take down the Creeper in this movie at all. He's kicking great after, actually. He's not even really scathed. Pretty Boy goes back to Grandma's house as she's talking to Ghost Boy, which is her son, by the way. I probably should have mentioned that bit, but I don't think it's really that important because nothing in this movie really is. But Pretty Boy arrives just as Grandma is preparing for a standoff that certainly wouldn't go well. She just got word that the fuckface got Pretty Girl. I don't know. I'm kind of like losing it now. Like, I haven't even finished the second movie. Not the second, the 4th movie. I'm not here to confuse y'all. I haven't even finished Reborn. Well, I have, unfortunately. I have to rewatch it, as mentioned. And I haven't even finished it yet as I'm recording this, because I have 3 days to finish this video to get it out on time. It's easy to talk about bad movies, but it's also not easy to research for bad movies. But speaking of Pretty Girl, we cut back to her and she pulls some maneuvers, and thanks to slightly injuring it and also just getting lucky due to plot armor, she gets away. At the end, we get a little scene that kind of suggests that Pretty Boy was there for Jeepers Creepers 2, and I'm not going to say anything about that because I want you to watch that movie. But let's just say, once you watch that movie, hopefully you do, he's on the bus, it seems. And we get a little cameo from Trisha at the end as well, which that name will make sense to you if you've seen the first movie, which you, again, definitely should. So far, that cameo hasn't gone anywhere in this series as it is currently, and really it just kind of felt sad that she was in such a shit movie. That's quite literally it to this lame-ass movie, so let's get into Jeepers Creepers Reborn before I lose my mind. I'm back on a different day, but in the same shirt, so that way it doesn't confuse you what video you're watching. This movie starts as almost a complete recreation of the first movie, just with different people, which turns out to be on this guy's phone as like one of those true story recreations for a Dateline episode. Some may love this, but to me, especially with how the franchise has been at this point, it just feels cheap and almost offensive, because the first film was so good, and then you're just like, The glare from the bullet points is not looking good. Oh, I can't see them now, though. That's so stupid of me. Turns out one of our main characters is a really big horror fan. Horror fanboy is really into horror. That's what we're calling him. His girlfriend, Lane, which I did actually learn the name of her because I didn't want to reduce her down to just girlfriend. She's actually the main character of this movie, technically. We learn that the reason why they're on the road, not wearing seatbelts, by the way, is to go to this horror festival that Lane doesn't even want to go to. Horror fanboy is dragging her there. She even calls it a nerd fest. I will try not to get offended. While horror fanboy is talking about the creeper and everything, she's like, nah. And it's explained that she doesn't believe in this kind of stuff because she's a scientist. She gets it low-key, actually. I would, Yeah, me too, girl. It's also mentioned that the 3 previous movies are technically canon in this universe of this movie, which is kind of cool, I guess, if you want to think that. Wayne stops the car to go throw up because she's pregnant. I'm not keeping information from you again. And we also find out that horror fanboy is but whoa, he's pregnant too. Shit. We also find out that horror fanboy is planning to propose to her at the event that she doesn't even want to go to. I don't know, it just seems like a weird play to me, personally, but to each their own. We also actually get to see a little bit of what happens when the creeper comes out of hibernation, which is kind of it's all right. It's cool. I at least am glad that they tried to do something new. Lane's gay best friend would have been the best part of this movie, probably, but he dies as soon as we meet him. The deaths aren't very good in this movie either, unfortunately. On the road, they stop by this little trinket roadside store, and going in, horror fanboy actually pricks his finger on the top of a miniature diorama of the creeper house, which is, I believe, foreshadowing for the standoff at the end of the movie. But knowing them, I also wouldn't be surprised if they're just like, cool, fun little Easter egg, and it's not intended to be that deep. Sometimes the curtains are maybe just blue. The place they're going to isn't on the map, and the lady overprices their map that she hands to them because it's antique. And at least this part is accurate. It is accurate. I will give them that. I have to pop my elbow, but it's not wanting to. Oh! As they're leaving, the lady who gave them the map and whatnot who's supposed to be a medium, I suppose, congratulates them both as they're walking out and then realizes, oh, they clearly don't know that she's pregnant. But what's real whack is as they're leaving, she calls somebody and mentioned that there is a pregnant lady coming in and that he will be most pleased. Horror fanboy gives Lane a surprise, which is just various cosplays of mostly horror characters. And yes, this is supposed to be her surprise. Either way, she eventually complies and seems to have fun with it, and horror fanboy gets to live out those fantasies a little bit, so win-win, I suppose. It is kind of cringe to watch, but at least is somewhat accurate for some of the horror fans out there. Not me, though. Lane decides on a cosplay of Jennifer from Jennifer's Body. Yes, that's important for you to know. I don't know if that was correct grammar. I'm tired. It's 5 a.m. the day this needs to go up. They go to the festival and Lane gets a little freaked out by the Christians at the gate. She would never last a day at Pride. But it's mostly because they're not really Christians, clearly. This town does a bit of blasphemy and worships the creeper, clearly. Telling by the word choice of "for it has risen" instead of "he has risen," which she actually spells out for us. Because we're stupid.
I'm pretty sure the correct phrase is "he is risen."
They walk up to this, axe throwing booth and we meet a character that I actually like. He's supposed to be a red herring at first, but he's cool as fuck. Lane notices the creeper style throwing stars and gets a little bit weird about it, but she learns how to throw them thanks to Cool Guy's help. Yes, that's what I'm calling him from now on. And this will be a weapon she uses later on because, Chekhov's gun. Chekhov's creeper style throwing star. She cuts her finger on it, a lot of that happening. It's because this movie focuses on a lot of mark symbolism, but who really cares? Creepy lady from the trinket store replaces all the draw tickets for all of them to be Lane's winning ticket. I don't know. I'm not a big movie fan that the movie surrounds cult behavior. Real quick, because as much as I hate this movie and will continue to shit on it, I do want to mention that I am happy that creators clearly took time to research horror fans at least a little bit. They clearly know how we are pretty well, even if they got what we like in movies wrong. It's also a bit of fun to look into the background of scenes from this section and be able to pick out costumes from other horror movies. Obviously, they fumbled on making a good movie, let alone a good horror movie, but it's at least nice that they put some care into learning the fan base, given that they're making a movie partially surrounding the fan base itself. Yes, it's dramatic and over the top and certainly not at all perfect, but it's not offensively so, at least to me. And at least they tried, and it's clear they did do their research at least a little bit. So, Lane wins that raffle. What they win is an escape room in the creeper house. If they escape before day, then they'll get some kind of prize, apparently. It's also going to be recorded by Carrie and crew, including Jamie, the producer, who I'd be kind of into if he wasn't a bitch. Thankfully, everyone else points this out as well. Carrie flirts with horror fanboy quite a bit during the calmer section of the meeting, which obviously causes some issues in the relationship later, especially since she does so even after Lane says that he's her boyfriend. Not very girl's girl of her, but it's okay because Lane will make up for that in a second. First, if you're curious on why I've hardly mentioned the creeper, it's 40 minutes in and it's only been like 5 short-ass scenes that it's been in, but it's still there fucking around in the background, don't worry. As mentioned, once they get near the creeper house, Lane walks off and splits up some of the group just to be the opposite of a girl's girl and put down Carrie because horror fanboy isn't noticing nor putting down her advances. A lot of this movie looks very poorly green screened, as you can see, and also the CGI for this bird sucks. This scene actually made me laugh, so you have to see it.
What are you looking for, you banjo? Jesus, man, fuck!
Your face! Oh, I did pee myself a little.
There's actually a few scenes in this movie that somehow actually made me laugh, which is like the only redeeming quality of it. Lane gets swooped up just as horror fanboy is about to make it better by proposing. Very Jeepers Creepers 3, by the way. And despite horror fanboy being exactly that and being obsessed with the creeper, when he meets back up with the team, he doesn't mention it. They then make their way inside the house, for safety of course, and are quickly locked in by the creeper cult. They all turn on Cool Guy, thinking that he's a part of it all because he drove them to the house and is a part of the festival. And Jamie is very classist about it, which is not cool, believe it or not. But Cool Guy quickly shuts that shit down by pulling out a gun. Once they all calm down just a wee little bit, horror fanboy finally tells them what they saw. Of course, they don't believe him, yet. This is also the best scene in the movie, so you get to see this as well.
Oh, you gotta be shitting me. Who the hell is that?
The creeper shows up and scares off the team. Meanwhile, Lane is having her final girl creation moment, starting to try and escape. She does pick up the creeper's throwing stars, and she makes sure to scream very loudly to draw as much attention as possible to her as she escapes. I said she was the final girl, not that she was a good one. Also in this movie, the song for the creeper is different than the other movies. I don't know if they lost the rights or something for the original song, but I don't know. I noticed it and I thought I'd mention it, so. Lane falls through the ceiling as they're all hiding in a room and lets them know that the creeper only cares about getting her, but still willingly follows closely in the group with them. Jamie gets his leg caught in a bear trap, karma, and horror fanboy finds a landline which he uses to call 911. But instead of saying that someone literally just got their leg stuck in a bear trap, he says the creeper or someone is trying to kill them. You'd think with him being a horror fan, he'd know that the police never take shit like that seriously.
They're not just gonna ignore a 911 call, right?
Oh, my sweet summer child.
My point exactly, Cool Guy. Carrie gets taken out, and Jamie can suddenly walk again as they run away, until he remembers and starts to hop on one leg. I know earlier I said that the kills in this movie aren't very good, but the creeper scalps Carrie and eats her brain, and that actually looks pretty good, so gotta give credit where credit is due.
I'd give my left arm.
Careful. You might.
Yeah, I instantly regret it.
Sorry, man. It's just nerves.
This movie seriously should have been a comedy, like actually. We also get an obligatory dairy mention, which is always great. Lane finally says that it's after her because she's pregnant and figures out that the townspeople are sending people to the house to feed the creeper. And yes, horror fanboy does take the news very well. Around this point, Jamie is killed off. Who really cares? Not me. But what's really fucked up is that Cool Guy gets the shit kicked out of him by the creeper. Not cool, man. But Cool Guy stabs it in the dick with a fire poker, if it even has a dick. And he gets away, which is always lovely to see. So apparently the creeper wants the baby to eat it, obviously, and to live forever. I think it would be more so just living a normal human lifespan. but they use the word forever, so who am I to say? The last fight scene really looks horrible, by the way. Think that green screen clip that I showed earlier, but worse and for way longer periods. Either way, they kind of kill the creeper, kind of not. Unfortunately, cool guy dies, but the police show up and help Lane and her boyfriend. I doubt the police will actually help much, given a lot of things, but, you know, who am I to say? Finally, the ending shows that the creeper is reborn, dare I say? And Lane is like possessed or something, whatever. I doubt there will be a sequel, so who's to say? Justin Long was the only thing that made this franchise good, hence why the second movie was pretty damn good, but not as great as the first one. Kidding. Okay, I'll get into more details. You don't need to ask me. I know this video's long. As mentioned, Reborn clearly went through so much work to try and understand horror fans, and it's clear they at least have some kind of a grasp on it, given how they are portrayed in the movie. And yet it's just not a good movie. And above all else, these movies are just fucking boring. Even the scenes that are supposed to pay homage to the original great film that is Jeepers Creepers 1 just come off as bad and offensive almost. Every scene that could even have the possibility of being a good scene if they were in better movies don't even have the chance to be alright, especially in the third movie with how everything just jumps around so much. But thank you to Jeepers Creepers Reborn for at least trying to do good by portraying horror fans in a pretty good way. So the creeper in Reborn, I didn't like it. I personally didn't like it, but that's, to each their own on that one. Jeepers Creepers, in my opinion, has the perfect down curve graph. The first was amazing and a classic. The second one was great and pretty fun. The third was kind of shit, but at least had some elements that made it somewhat entertaining. And Reborn is just kind of horrible. Again, it should have been a comedy, because there were those 3 scenes that made me actually give a little chuckle. And if it wasn't bogged down by trying to be a horror, I think it would have been pretty good, actually. If the budget was higher for, not being shitty green screen and CGI the whole time. But again, above all else, in the words of Sam Raimi, the worst thing a movie can be is boring. And that's all those last 2 movies are. I would like for this series to be good as much as anybody. I don't like watching bad movies, believe it or not. I like to watch movies, and I like to watch good movies. I like to even watch bad movies that I think are good. Like, it had so much potential to work with me, and yet... Whatever, I'm just gonna go watch a better movie now. Oh yeah, now this is fucking awesome. There's a guinea pig. This is Win. I better see every comment being like, hello Win. Thanks for watching this mess. I really am a big fan of movies, especially horror movies, and so I hope you liked it, and hopefully I can keep doing them. Have a few ideas. Fun fact, the first video I was ever going to publish on YouTube was going to be a movie review kind of thing. It was too much work for me at the time, like in editing and recording, and I didn't know how to do it all at the time, so I kind of scrapped it, and I don't really remember where my notes are or anything or what I wanted to say, but maybe, now that I've done this and I've got a bit more experience, maybe someday that video will be made. And just for fun, that video, I started working on an editing and everything. Don't know where the stuff went now, but I started working on it in 2019, and my first video was published in 2023. I'm so bad with procrastinating. I'm really proud of myself with how good I'm doing recently, actually. And for those curious, yes, I did watch both of these movies, again, on 2x speed. Ain't nobody got time for that. Again, thank you for watching, and thank you for your time as always. I really hope you liked this. I really like to talk about movies, and I really like to talk about movies just as much as I love video games. Feel free to tell me your thoughts about these movies if you've seen them in the comments below. I personally think I'm always right, but maybe we can see. Either way, if you haven't seen Jeepers Creepers 1 or 2, this is your homework. Go watch it. And maybe watch American Pie after you're done with that.
I
had no idea so many people attended these things.
This is the Coachella of cosplay.